Hey kids, it's Matt here, or Matthew when I'm in trouble. It's really great to be with you this morning. Thanks so much for letting me join you for a few minutes and share with you. Now, over the last few weeks, you've been learning about Jesus' disciples and what happened when he met them. But it's also great to remember that Jesus is at work in our lives now as much as he was back then. And as a modern day Matthew, I wanted just to join you and share with you a little bit about how God has been at work and is at work in my life today, and hopefully give a bit of encouragement around that. Before I start, there's just a couple of Bible passages that really speak to me about how God has been at work in my life that I wanted to share with you. And really great promises, I think. So firstly, in Deuteronomy 31:8, the Bible tells us that God will never leave us or forsake us. Psalm 145 verse 8 tells us that God is slow to anger and rich in love and gracious and compassionate. And in Romans 8:39 it tells us that nothing can ever separate us from God's love. And those are just some truths that have really helped me and I think are really kind of evident in what God's done in my life. So in terms of my story, I grew up very much as you have in church. My mum was a Christian and she encouraged us all along to go to church and kind of explore our faith. And when I was an early teenager, through youth groups and things like Spring Harvest, my faith became real to me, and I made a decision to follow Jesus when I was around 14 or 15. My late teens, I found a really challenging time. It was really, really difficult for me, and I wasn't really living life the way that I wanted to, or the way that I knew that I should really as a Christian. And I drifted away a little bit from church, but I always believed in God, but I wasn't really acting the right way. And I had a period in my early 20s when I just felt a real emptiness and just the absence of the relationship that I'd had and experienced with Jesus really just wasn't quite there for me, and I felt very much kind of called back to church and called back to the Lord. And in my mid-20s, that's exactly what I did. And I just felt welcomed back with open arms, and I realised that through all the times that I'd been distancing myself, really, I think you could say, from God, he'd always been there, and I just got a real sense of love and that knowledge that God had been there all along. And that was then a really exciting period in my life spiritually, and I was really blessed to be part of some evangelism and just see firsthand people being saved and giving their lives to Jesus, and also seeing healing and other miracles and really exciting evidence of how God's at work firsthand, really. And yes, it's a little bit about my story, but two real areas in my life that I've felt God at work that I really wanted to share with you. One's around our little son. So we've got a little boy, Caleb, who's just 8 months old now. And we had to wait a long time for Caleb. And that was a really difficult time and quite a sad time for us. And at times it was really difficult to know what God was doing and why he was doing it. But do you know what? Now he's with us. I can't imagine it any other way. And if we'd had a baby at a different time, it just wouldn't be Caleb, and he's perfect to us. So I've found often in life when I've been in hard times or difficult places, it's a little bit like being in a valley almost, and you can't necessarily see the way ahead, and you feel surrounded by mountains and you're not really sure what's going on, and you might not be quite sure about where God is or what he's doing. But do you know what? In each and every one of those times, and the example with Caleb is a fantastic one, when you're through that period and you get to the mountain on the other side, I always find I can look back and see how God's been perfectly at work during that time and guided me through it. And I might not understand it still, but I can see that he was there all that time. and now we've got Caleb, which is fantastic. And the other example I just wanted to share with you is around work. Now I'm incredibly fortunate in the job that I do, and we've been really blessed with it. But I sometimes wonder how I got here, because I left school at 18. I wasn't really paying a lot of attention. I didn't go to university, and I just had no idea what to do. So I worked for a few years in this job and that job, but with no real plan. And I just, I don't know, you could say that I sort of fell into what I'm doing now, but I believe it's a sign of God's hand on my life, really. That I get to work with, really successful people, really clever people. So I'll try to keep quiet so I'm not too shown up. But yeah, I just, over the last 8 years, any of my jobs I've had, I've not really applied for. They've been given to me by people who've known me. I've applied for lots of jobs and not been given them. And I just truly believe that's a sign of God wanting me in the right place at the right time, and working with the right people who've looked after me, and has been a real blessing for me and for my wife as well. And that's it really. I could go on, but I only wanted to go for a short time. Thanks so much for listening and for letting me share. I just hope this is a bit of an encouragement to you that God is really at work in our lives today. He does love us, he does want the best for us, and he will never leave or forsake us. So enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers, guys.